Hello and welcome to the BMC Quick Course series. My name is Andy Laredo and I'm a software consultant for the BMC Next Generation Technology or NGT products. In this session I'll describe the restart options you can use and will use with NGT Reorg for DB2. NGT follows design principles which will save you from having to figure out exactly what was going on with a utility run. You also will not have to figure out the disposition of datasets within your utility. There are no DD cards that you will have to inspect and tweak. You will simply have to determine if you want it to restart and continue from where your job left off, or do you want it to clean up and have it continue on its next scheduled execution. Three things will control and affect restart processing: the restart parm coded on the exec card, the plus on error global parm, or finally the cleanup handler. Cleanup will be handled via a plus cleanup global parm or an automation exit called xserver xerr. We will review each of these items further. NGT does not process one object at a time. Even when you're only using one server, we may process multiple table spaces simultaneously. This is managed using queuing technology. Servers take work and either complete it, or if an error occurs, place it on an error queue and proceed to another object. After all objects are processed, if there are any objects in the error queue, the job ends with a return code greater than 4, and a subsequent restart will process the objects in the error queue. Objects are locked internally in NGT in a lock manager, which we call the matrix. Depending on the utility, a share or exclusive lock will be obtained. Objects are locked from other NGT utility access from the time the object starts processing until it is complete. Objects in the error queue remain in the NGT matrix until they are completed by either a restart or a quick exit. The restart parameter is coded as the last parameter on the exec card. Most jobs specify restart. If the utility ID had run previously and left unfinished work, that job and work will be restarted. If all previous work had completed, that job will start as brand new. This way, the JCL does not have to be changed. There are two other restart parm options. These are commonly used in a testing environment. Rather than restart, you can specify no restart. This tells the NGT utility to not restart any previous execution. Instead, clean up the previous run and start from the beginning. When we say clean up, this means delete the shadow datasets, remove the object from the matrix, and delete any work datasets. Finally, you can specify a restart parm of quick exit. This tells the NGT utility to just clean up the previous run and exit. The onError parameter affects what NGT does when it encounters an error. If set to continue, we will put objects with errors in the error queue and continue processing the other objects. If set to append, we will put the objects with errors in the error queue, complete the other objects that are being concurrently processed, but not start any new objects. A restart of a job that used onError append will process objects in the error queue and the preproc queue. OnError append ends the job quicker, but holds up processing for other objects. OnError continue processes all objects before the job ends. With cleanup yes, or automation routine xserver xerr setting the action to cleanup, an object with errors will be put in the exclude queue rather than the error queue. This removes the object from the matrix, and no action, such as a restart, is required after the job completes. The job can be reviewed and the object processed at a later date. Of course, if a job appends with an object in a must-complete state, however unlikely that is, that object will be placed in the error queue regardless of any parameter settings, and the job must be restarted to complete the process and make the object accessible. RTS does not directly affect a restart because during a restart the sysin is not reprocessed. Just the initial workload is finished. However, by specifying the RTS keyword on the utility statement, NGT will use IBM real-time statistics and thresholds to process only what's needed. So if each job performs a cleanup, A rerun from the beginning using RTS will only process what is needed, those objects not previously processed. So the use of RTS does offer another possibility with restarting jobs. When using the RTS keyword, reorg can be run with cleanup yes to avoid leaving objects in the matrix and leaving shadow and work datasets on the system. Since only the objects that need reorging are selected to be processed, a rerun will only process the objects that were not processed by the previous run. This slide shows you our recommended NGT restart best practices. Specify restart in your NGT utility steps. This will simplify instructions for production control. Specify on-error continue in the NGT configuration. Specify cleanup no for utilities that must process all of its objects. For example, a reorg that has discards or mass deletes and may have to run daily. For these jobs, you will work any errors that occur and rerun them as soon as possible. Specify cleanup yes for utilities that should process all objects, in other words, not must process all objects. For example, reorgs or run stats that are triggered by RTS. For these jobs, you can allow for automatic cleanup and review and make adjustments during normal working hours and process the objects at a future date. Thank you for your time. For more information on any BMC mainframe product, please visit www.bmc.com.